This video is going to be a film study / commentary on the Ravens being able to re-sign one of their veteran defensive players Wednesday, bringing back Arthur Mallette on a 2-year deal. It's an interesting signing, smart. Perhaps it's not enough for us Ravens fans to get us really excited, but I think it helps focus in on certain positions, a smaller net of positions, if you will, in the draft. His play in 2023 offered the defense a lot of options. And if you look at the coverage snaps, he was really good across multiple schemes, whether it was man, zone, or split field or match coverage concepts. He was equally adept in all of those situations. Definitely a good tackler, very good in space in terms of taking on blocks, compressing or condensing interior gaps. I'll show you a couple plays here in a minute that I think illustrate that. The usage was notable, and I will be honest with you, I haven't been able to pick up yet on exactly why or what the link was between him and Hamilton. Meaning, there was times where Hamilton was at the nickel and Mallette was just off the field, and then there's times where Mallette's on the field, clearly defined as the nickel defender, and Hamilton is one of the two high safeties. You rarely saw both of them spun down, like, for example, ball in the middle of the field, Mallette on the right and Hamilton on the left with Marcus Williams or Geno Stone as a free safety. You rarely saw that. This signing definitely secures what I would say, underrated coverage DB for 2 years, if I understand it right. He's very versatile, tough, as I established, smart. From that standpoint, I think it impacts the draft greatly in terms of what positions we're comfortable, not positions we're comfortable taking, what positions we're going to focus on. Humphrey's contract expires after 2025, even though I do think there's a hit in 2026, a small one. Brandon Stevens is an unrestricted free agent after this season. His cap hit for 2024, if I remember correct, is a little over $3 million. And that's a guy who plays every snap, competes at outside corner. Incredible value there for Stevens, at least for this season. I still think we draft an outside corner with one of those first three, definitely 4 picks. Every mock draft that I do, I end up taking a corner with the second or the third selection. But I know we have other needs. Tackle, mostly. An outside linebacker, D-end, and wide receiver. It's an important draft for this Ravens franchise who has 9 picks. I think there's a very real possibility that we pass up on a quality safety with one of those first 3 or 4 picks. Because simply put, even if it's a talented rookie safety, we've got Arthur Mallette, we've got Kyle Hamilton, and Marcus Williams. Those last two are very good for different reasons. But I don't think we're going to expend a pick in the first 3 selections like we did on Trenton Simpson last year, meaning someone who we know is not going to get on the field much because we have well-entrenched, established starters at those positions. We're possibly going to pass up on a really good safety selection with one of those first 3 picks because we now have Arthur Mallette who can play the nickel position. And look, he's reliable in a unique way. He can play 15, 18 snaps one week and then turn around and play 60 snaps the following game. Very professional on the inside, slot corner, very well-versed across all the different coverages we play. I think it's a great signing, but I am interested in what DBs are there for us, probably in that 62, 93, 113 range, but we don't take them since we just re-signed Mallette, and he's going to soak up some snaps. He's going to be on the field. He's too good not to. So it's turning into a positive, but it does make me wonder whether we would have been better served to bring back a guy like Darby on a 2-year. He did sign with the Jags, I think, last week. It could have been the money. It could have been Darby wanted to go somewhere else. Or it could have been the Ravens' draft focus on taking an outside corner meant that we really didn't pursue that option, even though the on-the-field gameplay, the film of Darby, was incredible from 2023. Although Arthur Mallette film from 2023 is pretty good too. Used as a blitzer, often off the edge from the nickel position to the wide side of the field, generally located. He's got a great burst, if you ask me. But he also hides it very well. Of course, all the Ravens defenders hid things really well on these outside blitzes in 2023. Mallette was a guy who, when he came over from the Steelers, already had a lot of experience snaps in the NFL. Of course, he's 30 years old at this point at the nickel position. He's a very versatile, tough defender. 2 sacks during the season, both of them on this glitch blitz, if you will, is the name that I came up with it. Oftentimes used on third down, but the usage of it was unpredictable. Sometimes it was early in the game, first or second possession on the initial third down, and sometimes it was later in the game after it had not been shown at all. There was some real genius in the defensive play calls when the blitzes were called, and certainly Zach Orr is going to have to live up to that standard this year. This is late in the game against the Chargers, a 4th and 6. You'll see multiple iterations, I think 3 times this year, or last year. It was used on 4th down situations in the 4th quarter to kind of close out games, if that makes sense. So whatever the play call sheet was, we were operating from, number one, caught offensive coordinators by surprise because of the late usage of it, or on the flip side, caught them by surprise early in games. There didn't seem to be as much usage in the middle of games, second and third quarter. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. The awareness of Mallette on this 4th down, I think, is pretty cool. Putting his hands up in the air to get into any window of Herbert to be able to throw the ball. Of course, Herbert's pretty tall, 6'4", 6'5". Mallette is an extremely professional defender, and he likes to hit. There's definitely a nastiness to his game and to how he finishes some of these plays. You saw it in this Week 5 sack against Kenny Pickett, again on a 3rd down. When you combine this ability with his coverage versatility, in man, in zone, he plays very well with his hands out in space, has great spatial awareness, will force things inside, allow inside-out fitters, either linebackers or safeties, to be able to find the interior gap in a very declared manner, meaning it doesn't get expanded. The edge doesn't get expanded so much that players have to take and widen their angle, creating more space for the running back, or in this case, receiver on a screen, to be able to cut back through. Really good tackler. If you ask me, this is first play of the game against the Lions. This interesting personnel group that Detroit used on the first snap, where they had an inside linebacker at fullback, Malcolm Rodriguez. Mallette is left unblocked on the power concept and steps down to make the tackle for a 2 or 3 yard gain. Also tackles well out in space from a zone coverage concept. This is a 2nd and 10, Week 12 against the Chargers. Very balanced in his movements and really never stressed. He doesn't look stressed in zone coverages. I would say he's a little bit better zone coverage guy than man. Not necessarily that man is a weakness, but he's really good at identifying the underneath routes and breaking on them at the right time, such that he doesn't give up a seam in the zone and allow the quarterback to get an easy completion. 3rd and 8, last regular season game, Week 18, against the Steelers. Short completion to Warren underneath, comes downhill, makes the tackle. Of course, we force a fumble there to get the football back. When you check out some of these zone plays, look at the timing at which he breaks. There's definitely something that's looks natural with him, but I think it's just very well trained. He understands where the help is, so staying on the outside, funneling this player into the safety, in this case Geno Stone, then allows him to be free to come downhill and attack and rally to make the play with an inside-out defender as well. Del'Shawn Phillips, who I think is the guy that forced the fumble. Really great at getting in the passing windows. You'll see 2 examples of it here from Week 17 against the Dolphins. Now, this is Roquan Smith also getting in the window. Ends up being an interception by Geno Stone. Mallette is exceptional, if you ask me, at understanding patterns and where he should fit to take away the most likely route that a quarterback is going to throw. Different play in the second quarter. Mallette is on the right-hand side of our screen as the nickel, kind of stacks back into the box. Ends up going down as a sack for Kyle Van Noy. Mallette is a guy who plays great team defense. You saw illustrations of it with the forced fumble by Del'Shawn Phillips. Here he is getting in the window of what becomes the second look for Tua. Just a really smart football player, almost always in the right place at the right time. Zach Orr's challenge, or really the opportunity that's there for Zach Orr, will be to use guys like Arthur Mallette to create confusion for the quarterback and receivers post-snap. This is quarter, half. We're running the half side to the field, to our right, the bottom side of the screen for you as the viewer right now. Arthur Mallette ends up playing on the hash, generally the inside linebacker's position. So we're kind of doing this a little bit anomalous. Queen is going to push the flats. Roquan's going to take over the hash drop to the defense's left. On the motion, Mallette is going to play the hash to the right. And then Brandon Stevens is going to drop down and play the flats to the field. End up with a quarter, half delineation, whereby Ronald Darby is taking the vertical that's run into the boundary. Half field defender here. We have taken away all route options for C.J. Stroud on this 1st and 10. The versatility and multiplicity that Mallette offers, it's going to help them present different looks post-snap than the quarterback perceived prior to the ball being snapped. Underrated man coverage guy, even though this one certainly doesn't work out in the Ravens' favor. Last 3 minutes of the game against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game lost. Gets beat on the vertical by Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Ravens are definitely looking for crossers over concept. One of the Chiefs' favorite things to do on 3rd down, especially when they have trips to their left. Chiefs are a very directional-oriented football team in terms of where they run their plays, especially on 3rd and 4th down. MVS and Rashee Rice are running kind of these double crossers, and Mallette, as they get to around the 42-yard line, 40-yard line, identifies it and thinks that MVS is going to take the route to the top sideline. Mahomes instead throws the ball further down the field, just letting MVS run onto that space. Obviously ends up being a big completion that closes out the game. Generally in man coverage, thought he played really well in 2023. This one goes down as a catch on a 3rd and 3 initially and then gets overturned. Great challenge by Mallette over the middle on the completion to Irwin, or initial completion to Irwin. Little change of direction route by Irwin. And then finally in the slot against George Pickens on a 2nd down, week 5 on the road. Slot fade concept that Mallette is able to cover, get his hands on or maybe his shoulder for the pass defense. I think the signing is really astute by the Ravens front office. Definitely beginning to have the feeling that the Ravens coverage-wise in terms of our scheme and our calls are going to remain the same in 2024 because we've got so many guys returning other than Geno Stone, so many guys returning who have experience in our system. Mike McDonald is gone. Zach Orr coached with him the last 2 years. I do wonder or project that we're going to be in a lot of the same coverages. The timing of the calls might be a little different. So bringing back Arthur Mallette from that standpoint only made sense. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the film study and commentary, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. And number 2, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media if you'd like to see other Ravens fans enjoy it as well.